There's a quiet pain many carry, but few know how to name. Perhaps you've felt it, too. That dull ache in the heart when you look around and wonder, why do those who live with honesty, kindness, and compassion often face the deepest wounds? Why do those who lie, cheat, or manipulate seem to thrive while the gentle ones struggle? You are not alone in asking this. It is not a cynical question. It's the kind of question that arises from a tender, open heart that simply wants to understand. And it is a question the Buddha himself explored not once, but again and again. Let us begin this journey not by trying to answer with logic, but by gently resting with the truth that this question matters. It is the doorway to a deeper seeing. In the Buddha's time, there were those who believed that all suffering was punishment, either from gods or from past lives. There were others who believed everything was random, that life had no rhyme or reason. But the Buddha walked a different path. He did not offer easy comfort. He offered clarity. He taught that suffering, even in the lives of good, sincere, loving people, was not proof that something had gone wrong. It was proof that life itself is fragile, impermanent, and always changing. And most importantly, he showed that suffering can be transformed. Imagine a person who gives selflessly to others, who speaks gently, who lives with kindness not as a performance, but as a natural extension of their being. And now imagine that same person facing loss, betrayal, loneliness. The mind wants to say, this isn't fair. And from one perspective, it isn't. But what if we looked from another angle? What if goodness wasn't a guarantee of safety, but a deep strength that holds steady even when storms come? What if suffering wasn't a punishment, but a part of the terrain, the very soil in which compassion, wisdom, and resilience can grow? Many good people carry secret shame, as if their pain means they have failed, as if they did something wrong to deserve heartbreak. But the Buddha invites us to see more clearly. Suffering is not personal. It is universal. When we resist this truth, when we say, this should not be happening to me, we add a second layer of pain. We carry the burden not just of our grief or fear, but of the story that it means something is wrong with us, that we are broken, that our goodness has been rejected by the world. But when we begin to soften around this, when we can say, even this is part of being human, we begin to breathe again. We begin to feel less alone. The Buddha himself was not spared suffering. He lost his mother as a newborn. He saw suffering so deeply that he left everything behind to seek its root. He was betrayed by disciples, misunderstood by many, and faced illness and death like all beings. Yet in the midst of this, he discovered a profound peace. He didn't become peaceful because life was easy. He became peaceful because he stopped running. He turned toward the truth with a calm and open heart. You are already doing this, just by being here, just by asking why good people suffer. Not with bitterness, but with sincerity, you are walking the same path. A path that does not pretend life is always fair, but reveals something even more beautiful. That love, kindness, and compassion matter. Not because they shield us from pain, but because they make that pain meaningful. And this is where our journey begins. When people hear the word karma, it often brings to mind ideas of punishment or reward, a cosmic scoreboard where good actions earn blessings, and bad ones invite misfortune. But the Buddha offered something subtler, more compassionate, and infinitely wiser. Karma, in its essence, means action. It's not about judgment. It's about cause and effect. What you do, what you say, what you think, these things ripple outward and inward, shaping your experience of the world and your own heart. Karma isn't a God watching over you with a checklist. It's not instant justice. It's not why someone cheats and seems to prosper or why a kind person falls ill. It's not about short-term outcomes. It's about long arcs across years, lifetimes, and deeper layers of the mind. In this view, good people don't suffer because of their goodness. They suffer because they are alive, and alive beings carry karma from this life and many others. The Buddha taught that karma is complex. It ripens in ways we can't always trace. Sometimes the causes of our present pain were planted long ago, not as punishments, but as seeds that now bear fruit. And sometimes suffering isn't the result of our karma, but the collective karma of the world, the shared inheritance of a humanity still waking up. This may sound overwhelming, but in truth it brings freedom. Because while you may not control every condition of your life, you always have power in how you respond. That response, that intention, that presence is new karma in the making. So instead of seeing suffering as a sign of failure, we begin to see it as a moment to plant seeds of awakening. When pain arises, so can clarity. When the heart breaks, so can it open. Think of a candle. One flame can light another and another without ever losing its own light. In the same way, a kind act, a patient breath, a loving thought in the midst of hardship, these are karmic flames that illuminate not only your path, but the path for others. Goodness does not guarantee comfort, but it guarantees depth. The more open your heart, the more fully you feel, joy and sorrow alike. The more compassion you live with, the more pain you notice, and the more grace you can bring to it. So the next time you find yourself asking, what did I do to deserve this? Try asking instead, what can I learn? What can I offer? What kind of seed can I plant here? This is the heart of karma in Buddhism. It is not fatalistic. It is empowering. You are never stuck. You are always sowing the future, not by striving, but by how you meet this very moment. And if you are suffering right now, you are not being punished. You are being invited not to like the pain, but to listen to it, to move gently through it, to let it soften your edges and sharpen your clarity. Your karma is not your identity. It is not your destiny. It is simply the momentum you carry, and every breath is a chance to shift that momentum. Even now, especially now, pain is not a punishment. Suffering is not a sign that something has gone wrong. These truths are not always easy to accept, especially when we are in the middle of deep sorrow. And yet, the Buddha was very clear. Suffering is not a mistake. It is part of the path. Often, people who live with kindness and integrity hold themselves to impossible standards. They believe they must always be calm, always be giving, always be strong. And when hardship comes, they feel ashamed as if they have failed at being good. But the truth is gentler and deeper. To suffer is not to fail. It is to be human. The Buddha's own life was marked by pain. He left his family not because he did not love them, but because he loved all beings so deeply that he had to understand the nature of suffering. His journey took him through hunger, loneliness, and struggle, and yet he did not turn away. He turned toward. This turning toward the pain, not away from it, is the heart of the spiritual path. It is not about being free from pain, but being free within it. It is not about control, but about presence. When we stop judging our suffering, it begins to soften. When we stop asking whether we deserve it, we begin to understand it. And that understanding opens the door to wisdom. A woman may lose her child and think, what did I do wrong? A kind man may be abandoned and think, why wasn't my love enough? These are natural thoughts, but they are also thoughts rooted in misunderstanding. Pain is not evidence of your failure. It is evidence of your depth. To feel pain deeply is to be alive. And to stay open-hearted in the face of it, that is courage. What makes suffering unbearable is not the pain itself, but our resistance to it. We brace against it. We try to make it go away. We think, this should not be happening. And in that fight, we double the pain. We add fear to grief, shame to loneliness, anger to loss. But when we pause, breathe, and turn gently toward the ache, something shifts. We begin to see that our pain is not the enemy. It is a teacher, not one we asked for, but one that has come with something to reveal. The Buddha taught that all beings suffer, not because they are bad, not because they did something wrong, but because they are conscious, feeling beings in an impermanent world. To be born is to one day die. To love is to one day grieve. To open is to be vulnerable. And yet, to do all these things anyway, that is the very essence of awakening. When you suffer, you are not broken. You are breaking open. You are deepening. So be kind to yourself. Let your pain be part of your story, but not the whole of it. Let it be a chapter, not the conclusion. You are still unfolding. You are still becoming. And the fact that you are here, seeking, listening, open, that alone is enough to honor the fullness of your path. There is a kind of beauty in the heart that still believes in fairness, that still hopes the good will be rewarded, and the cruel will face their reckoning. It's a hopeful way of seeing the world, until life starts to break that illusion. People with good hearts often hold a deep wish for things to make sense. When something unjust happens, betrayal, illness, loss, there's a subtle voice that whispers, this isn't how it should be. That voice aches. It longs for justice, for balance, for a universe that rewards kindness. And yet, the Buddha gently reminds us, suffering comes not just from what happens, but from our expectations about what should happen. The more tightly we grip the story of how life is supposed to be, the more we hurt when it isn't. Expectations are like rigid walls in a world made of wind. Life moves, people change, bodies age, plans unravel. The more we try to freeze what is meant to flow, the more pain we create. This is not a call to hopelessness. It is a call to freedom. Letting go does not mean giving up. It does not mean becoming cold or indifferent. It means loosening the grip of control. It means saying, I can't force life to match my ideals, but I can open to what is. Imagine holding a bird in your hands. If you squeeze it, you hurt it. If you open your palms, it can breathe. Letting go is like that. It creates space for truth, for healing, for love. Many people fear that if they let go of expectations, they'll stop caring. But the opposite is true. When we let go of rigid outcomes, we become more present. We begin to love not because we expect something in return, but because love is our nature. The Buddha taught the middle way, not indulgence, not denial. And this applies to expectations too. We're not asked to stop hoping, but we're invited to hold our hopes lightly. Like petals on the wind. Good people suffer when they expect their goodness to protect them from pain. But what if goodness isn't a shield? What if it's a bridge? A way to walk through life's storms with more grace, more wisdom, more depth? Letting go of the need for life to be fair is one of the greatest acts of compassion, not just for others, but for ourselves. It allows us to rest, to breathe, to stop measuring and comparing and trying to earn peace. Peace cannot be earned. It is discovered. And we discover it most clearly when we stop demanding that life be different and start embracing it as it is with tenderness, curiosity, and courage. Love is a powerful force. But love with attachment, with grasping and fear often leads to suffering. In this part, we explore how to love freely. How to act with kindness and compassion without being consumed by the outcomes. Many kind-hearted people feel deeply responsible for the well-being of others. When someone they care for is in pain, they feel guilt. When their kindness is not returned, they feel hurt. But the Buddha offered a different model, one of wise love, rooted in presence, not possession. Loving without clinging means you care deeply, but you don't lose yourself in the caring. You allow others to walk their own paths even when it's difficult. You offer your heart without needing to control the result. This is not cold or distant. In fact, it is a love more pure than most of us are used to. It says, I love you, and I trust you. I love you, and I trust life. Acting without attachment doesn't mean apathy. It means doing good because it's in your nature, not because you expect praise, recognition, or a guaranteed outcome. Imagine planting seeds in a garden. You water them, tend the soil, give them sunlight. But you cannot force them to grow. You don't shout at them to bloom. You trust the process. You serve the conditions. You let nature unfold. This is the way of the Bodhisattva, one who serves the world not for reward, but because compassion flows through them like breath. To love without clinging is not easy. It requires practice. It requires courage. But with time, it becomes the most liberating form of love. You begin to see that even when things don't go your way, even when your efforts seem unseen or unappreciated, you still have peace. Because your heart is not dependent on others' responses. Your peace is not held hostage by results. When we act from this place, we stop asking, will this work? And start asking, is this true to my heart? Goodness, then, becomes a way of being, not a strategy. And in that, there is great freedom. We live in a world of loud victories and quiet sufferings. Often, the people who inspire us most aren't the ones in the spotlight, but those who suffer quietly and continue to love, to serve, to remain kind. This part is a space to honor them through stories. There's the mother who loses a child but chooses to become a grief counselor, sitting with others in their darkest moments. She does not move on but moves forward, carrying her pain with grace. There's the elderly monk who lived through war, poverty, and persecution, yet smiles with a softness that disarms even the angriest visitors to his temple. He says little, but his presence heals. There's the woman who forgave the man who took everything from her, not because she forgot, but because she refused to carry hatred in her heart any longer. These stories are not fairy tales. They are lived examples of Buddhist principles in action. They remind us that wisdom is not just found in scripture. It's found in kitchens and hospital rooms, in waiting lines and prison cells. In quiet acts of resilience. Good people suffer, but some of them transform their suffering into compassion so deep it changes everyone who meets them. This is what the Buddha meant by turning poison into medicine. These are not perfect people. They cry, they break down, they doubt. But they return again and again to the practice of presence. They choose kindness even when it hurts. They sit with their pain not to glorify it, but to understand it. From that understanding, a different kind of strength is born. You may be one of these people too. You may not feel strong. You may not have a story others know. But your quiet endurance, your effort to love despite pain, that is a kind of nobility the world desperately needs. So this section is not just about others. It is also about you. Your suffering matters. Your story matters. And the way you carry it with gentleness, with awareness, can become light for someone else still lost in the dark. Transformation is not always dramatic. Often, it unfolds quietly, like dawn easing into a dark room or like a seed splitting open beneath the soil. In this part, we explore how suffering itself becomes the very path toward awakening. The Buddha did not say we should avoid pain. He said we should understand it. That word, understand, is so gentle and yet so powerful. To understand something is to stop fighting it, stop fearing it, and begin to see it as it truly is. When we suffer, we often collapse into the story, "This should not be happening." But if we pause, breathe, and turn toward the pain, a space opens. In that space, wisdom can emerge. A person betrayed by someone they trusted might eventually come to see how that betrayal shattered illusions, sharpened discernment, and deepened compassion. It didn't feel like a gift at the time. It may still hurt, but something wiser emerged. A cancer diagnosis may strip away everything unnecessary, leaving a person more awake to life than ever before. They laugh louder. They listen better. They finally say, "I love you." Not in spite of the suffering, but because of it. The Buddha said, just as a lotus grows from the mud, so does awakening arise from suffering. This is not a metaphor. It's a map. The mud is real. The darkness is real. But so is the flower that rises from it. That flower is not separate from the mud. It needs the mud. Your pain is not proof of failure. It is the beginning of the path. Every tear, every crack in the heart, every moment you thought you could not go on, all of it can become fuel for awakening. But only if we walk it. Only if we stop waiting for the pain to disappear and instead start learning from it. This doesn't mean we have to enjoy it. It doesn't mean we invite suffering. But we stop wasting our lives resisting what's already here. We shift from "why me" to "now what?" And in that shift, everything changes. What was once a wound becomes a doorway. What once felt like punishment becomes practice. What once felt like the end becomes the beginning. This is the deepest teaching of the path. Nothing is wasted. No moment, no sorrow, no mistake. Everything can be part of the path. Even this. By now, we've walked through sorrow, through stories, through teachings and tenderness. But we arrive not at an end, only a deepening. This part is not a conclusion. It is a remembering. We remember that suffering is not personal, it touches all beings. We remember that goodness does not grant immunity from pain, but it gives us the strength to meet pain with grace. We remember that the path is not one of escape, but of presence. The Buddha did not promise a life without hardship. He promised that even in hardship there could be peace. That freedom is not the absence of pain, but the absence of resistance. So as you reflect now, ask gently, where have I been resisting? Where have I been blaming myself? What pain am I ready to hold, not with fear, but with kindness? You don't need to solve everything. You don't need to fix your heart. You only need to bring awareness to it. To sit beside your own suffering as a true friend would. To offer yourself the same gentleness you would offer someone you love. That is the beginning, and the middle, and the return. You will still feel. You will still grieve. But something in you will remain soft and steady even in the storm. And that something, that awareness, that compassion, will carry you forward. Others will feel it too. Without trying, you will become a healing presence. Not because your life is perfect, but because your heart is honest, open, brave. This is the gift of suffering walked with awareness. This is why the Buddha did not turn away from the world. He stayed. He walked among the brokenhearted. He offered not magic, but truth. Not escape, but insight. Not perfection, but peace. And so can you.